everyone, I'm your host Neha and you're tuned into Durian Dreaming, the show that brings you extraordinary stories from seemingly ordinary experiences in Indonesia's fast-paced market. Let's dive into today's conversation with another inspiring guest. Hi everyone. Today's guest is someone who's seen the recruitment world from all sides. So from leading in the global firms to starting her own people-first company. Stephanie Leong. She's the founder of WeNetwork, which is making waves and expanding in Southeast Asia. With experience in Robert Walters, Michael Page, and Ambition, she has seen the gaps in traditional hiring and is now reshaping how recruitment works in this region. So without much ado, let's welcome our guest, Stephanie Leong. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome to our podcast, Durian Dreaming. We are very thrilled to have you with us.
Hi, Neha. Thank you so much for inviting me as well. It's truly an honor for me to be a part of this.
Likewise, Stephanie, it's a pleasure to have you. And this is one topic where our audiences will be very keen and very glued to the ears to hear all about it. So let's dive in. So recruitment, Stephanie, is often a career where people discover rather than pursue intentionally. So can you tell us how you first got into recruitment? Was it like a deliberate choice or a career move or more of a chance encounter?
Like you said, yeah, like it was not something I had planned to enter when I was, chose my degree.
Yeah.
So I was a business marketing graduate as well from NTU, Nanyang Technological University of Singapore. So naturally, upon graduation, I actually did marketing and communications, which is what I actually studied for. Right. So I've actually worked for PR agencies and other government agencies as well, doing a lot of marketing communications, events, corporate communications. So after working for a few years, I felt that I wanted something that was a bit faster paced, right? And something that I could directly impact the outcome of my work.
Right. But Stephanie, recruitment can be fast paced and intense, and especially in the early years. So were there any moments early in your career that made you question whether this was the right path for you or not? So even before you decided to launch WeNetwork, were there moments during your job, during your gig that you said, do I really want to pursue my career in recruitment?
Absolutely. It was a huge change for me, moving away from marketing to sales. So marketing is like we have a calendar of events. So it was like, when's your peak and when's your low period. But for sales, everything has a commercial agenda. So when I first moved, I was working doubly hard, longer hours compared to the life I had in marketing. I think the peak for marketing is usually, the big event of the year, the anchor event of the year, right? As you know, for most marketers, same for me. So when I moved to sales, it was suddenly like I had to work extra hours because I was trying to build my network. I was trying to get an understanding of recruitment as an industry. So I did question myself many times, like, why did I choose this path? Why didn't I just stick to marketing and have my, and a life that was pretty easy? So I asked my dad as well. I was like, Dad, do you think I should quit?
Yeah.
Can I quit? And he was like, quit. So, but of course I was not going, the more your parents tell you something, the more you're like, no, you want to prove that you can do something. So I held on and before I know it, it's been 10 years in recruitment.
Oh, wow.
So I'm grateful.
Oh, wonderful. So almost like a decade, more than a decade, likely.
Yep. I'm a dinosaur in this industry. Yeah.
There's definitely many entrepreneurs, they start their companies after spotting a gap in the market. So what inspired you to launch WeNetwork? Because you have a good pedigree from all the big recruiting firms. So what is the gap that you noticed and you decided, I need to launch my own company?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, that's a great question. I actually worked for two very different type of agencies before setting up my own. So the first one was a Singaporean-owned company, right? So the way they worked was very, they had processes in place as well, but not as much as a global agency. So with that firm, I actually learned a lot about resourcefulness, right? I could work with very unique clients that some big agencies might not want to work with. I could be very creative in what I could do, to basically bring in the revenue as well. Of course, within, ethical boundaries as well. But when I worked in my previous global agency firm, which was my last role before I set up WeNetwork, I learned a lot about structure and process excellence, actually, which is a very different aspect compared to what I had when I first started. Right, so I'm very grateful. I think both these experiences really shaped my work today, whether it's my management style, the best practice that I am trying to, put into my team as well. These are the foundations that I set today. So when I set up WeNetwork, I think it was not, again, my instinct. Actually, it was not something that I had, dreamed of from the start. It was something that also happened along the way. So it was really a combination of, I think, the right time, the right people, right? So I think to do a business, you need good partners. And for the partners to be ready at the same time that you are, it's really hard to find, right? So when that came about, I was like, this is something that I think I would regret the most if I did not take this opportunity versus my other option, which is continuing in a corporate role or finding an in-house role, which is really just basically being employees in a corporate world. So it was that, and I just honestly took the chance based on that. In terms of the market gap, I think that the market is huge, especially in Indonesia, right? When I compared to Singapore, there's a lot less competitor. I mean, there are really good agencies as well here, but compared to Singapore, it's a lot less. So I think from that market, I think Indo being here, having the opportunity to work and live here, I actually get to see firsthand how challenging.
Right. So, recruiters often face challenge working with clients who may not fully understand the hiring market. Right. And I'm sure you would have seen many such clients who are asking for the stars and the moon without realizing the reality on the ground. From your experience, what is one common client side behavior that makes the job very difficult?
For me, I think it's the lack of clarity and commitment, right? Because I think for us, we are a contingent agency, meaning we do only we only charge upon success. So what it means is that basically we work for free for the client until we actually get success, right? But of course, we're happy and grateful for all the opportunities to support them nonetheless. We are aware of the challenges. But I think for me, because if the client is not, obviously what we come in, we try to provide data as specialists, we try to give them a variety of candidates, to let them see what the market is like, to make a more informed decision. But at the same time, all this will be worth nothing. And, if the client is unsure about, even if they are serious about hiring, or, they are unsure what this person should do if they hire the person in the first place, right? So I think that is something that if we can help the client reach that, it will make the subsequent hiring process a lot smoother. But if they are unclear from the start, and even after all the data that we're providing to them, they still remain unclear, then we already know what the outcome is going to look like, which is basically you're not going to hire because they're not unclear. And it will be kind of like wasting some of the people's time. We're happy, like we say, we understand sometimes the client needs data, and they are very upfront with us as well that, we're not sure, we are just thinking, we're exploring, that's fine. But if they remain like this and still expect a lot of interviews to happen, then I think something that I feel is unrealistic as well. So for me, that's the biggest thing that I feel like is not effective in a partnership, basically.
So Stephanie, without taking names, would you be able to drop any example?
I mean, there's a lot, because there's a lot of clients that they said, yeah, we want transformation, it's a buzzword, but and then obviously we try to understand and structure it for them. Like, okay, when you say unclear, this is how the market looks like, are you willing to look at someone like that at this price? Yeah. Right. So I mean, price and quality is always something we always have discussions with the client about as well. Yeah. So if they always want, top tier talent, but they don't want to, sometimes they're not willing to pay what the market requires them to as well, then we are also limited, right, by what's available in the market. So if they are not realistic as well, then it's not going to happen as well. So yeah, that would be my biggest, I think that would be the biggest thing for us. Yeah.
So very unclear or non-clarity of what kind of role they're hiring for and how defined the role is. Now, this is the client side. Even candidates too can sometimes unintentionally derail the recruitment. So what's a common candidate behavior that recruiters find frustrating?
I think for me, I think that we have to have trust, right? Because again, I said we are partners in this whole process, right? So for me, it's the being honest and transparent, and about the expectations or anything that could impede the process of recruitment, like some other bonuses or other concerns that they had. If they could be honest from the start, it would definitely help us to manage it on all fronts. Another thing would be that sometimes they make a lot of assumptions from very unsolicited sources, and they use that to basically justify their expectations or to assume things about the client or the role, and that is something that sometimes we feel that again, being transparent, if we are it's a two-way thing. If we can address it, that it will be more objective evaluation of the role in the market. But if they come in with a lot of things, then we have to spend more time basically explaining like what is the truth or objectively in the market, and let them decide again. But for me, I'm happy to do that, but it's just a lot more how you say, things that we need to basically overcome if they come in with that mindset, basically.
Right. The first placement is often a very memorable milestone for any recruiter, right? So do you remember your first successful placement, and what did you learn from that experience?
So for me, I think obviously I started my recruitment career in Singapore. So basically my desk was pretty new, and I was also new to recruitment. So we had a job, so I was really, really eager to support. It was a very interesting role because it was actually for a luxury automotive distributor in Singapore, and they were looking for a marketing manager. Right. So naturally, people would think that, okay, the right person should come from a similar industry like automotive or at least luxury as a minimum. Right. But when I met the client, she was actually insisting more on the personality and not so much on the industry background. So for me, it was even another additional challenge, right, for my first role, which I was like, this is something I had to deliver. My probation basically was on the line on this job, right, in a way. So in the end, so I had to do a very thorough interview, and I put forward this person that actually came from aesthetics. So this person was not a luxury kind of person, but she had that drive and personality that my clients seemed to be looking for. So it was a gamble for someone new in the industry. And it was probably the third candidate or something, like, so really, really early on, third candidate I had sent to the client, and surprisingly the interview went well and they hired her. So this was my first placement, and it was, imagine my relief when I placed. And what's more important after that, it was not just the success of like being able to find the person and close the job, but also that how the client's response after that was, a lot of great gratitude, I think, for being able to find this person outside the typical talent pool, and also how the candidate thrived basically in the role, right, which is in an industry that she might not have gotten into without my help, basically. So I think that was for me like what was very memorable.
And any particular a conversation which you've had with a candidate, which was like something amusing or surprising that you never expected?
I did not expect. Wow. Been a while. Not sure how I got the answer for this right now.
Okay. No, any incident you can recall, you do the first screening of the candidate, right?
Yeah.
So in that first screening, any questions you recall that the candidate asked and you were just taken by surprise, or you never expected?
Let me think.
It could be in a fun way, it could be in a shocking way.
Maybe. I think I was recruiting a banking marketing role, and I remember that one of the candidates, so I already had secured a coffee meeting with the client, with this candidate, right? And this candidate's first question to me when I sat down was, so what can what straight away was like, what can you offer me? Right? And I was really shocked by that first statement, because usually, we still have that, that build up, the icebreaker, but with him, I was like, tell me why should I consider the opportunity from you? Like in a really direct way. And obviously this was in Singapore.
Yeah.
And I remember that I was a bit shocked, but my response back to him was, no, you tell me first what you can offer my client, then we talk further, right? And I think that set the tone about, actually being in equal position as well. And it's actually important because it's not about, like I said, I believe really strongly in equal partnership in the discussion, right? Because if it's one believes that they're more, that we owe it to each other or is in a higher ground, then I don't think it's going to be a very effective partnership. Yeah, but that definitely stood out to me. For a new recruiter as well, it's like, yeah, I was really shocked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because modern hiring has become very complex and the expectations on recruiters are higher than ever. So, what are some of the outdated practices in recruitment that you believe industry needs to move away from?
Yeah, I think that basically, if you're talking about at an industry level for recruitment, I think that some of the global firms are struggling a little because they are listed companies usually, and they are forced to scale at sometimes a unsustainable pace, like in terms of hiring the team of recruiters. So it got too big too fast sometimes, and it's a bit unsustainable. So that's why some of them are struggling. But what's the impact, right, to the clients, right? The clients are already working with these agencies, and if that happens, then it might compromise the experience for clients, right? So I think for me, it's about making sure that you still are relevant, you're still keeping in touch, and that you still, the process to me is still the same today. I don't think it's something that AI is going to replace immediately. It's a hot topic, but again, with AI and machine learning and all that, there's a lot of teaching the system to help you, right? Which I still think that the nuance of, personality, motivations is not something that AI can understand or replicate or advise immediately. We don't know the future, but I think that for now, we still have that. We still add value to the market through our unique assessments and recommendations, right? So I think that is something that people may think that is going to be the future, and why do we still need recruiters? But I think we are still relevant today, especially in markets like Indonesia, where there's a lot of nuance in culture. What they're saying, the motivations is not so clear. It doesn't mean that you give a huge increment means the person is going to take it. There's a lot of other factors in considering, changing a role, basically, right? So I think that is something that is still relevant today. I think face-to-face in meetings with candidates is also still very important and actually not outdated at all, right? As much as people want to say that, oh, we can do remote, and everything, it really depends on the business, and human relationships are still core of our business today.
Actually touched upon a very interesting topic, and I was coming to the discussion of AI. So, and like you rightly said, no matter how much usage of AI is there, but a face-to-face connect cannot be replaced by an AI, right? But there are other tools that's come into the recruitment process. For example, the rise of LinkedIn, the internal talent acquisition teams. They've significantly reshaped the recruitment landscape. How do you see the traditional recruitment agency, such as yours, model evolving in response to these changes?
So I think, of course, LinkedIn is beneficial for everyone. And it's definitely made it easier for everyone to be accessible to employers, right? Including recruiters. So I think everybody is a tool that we will continue to basically use as well, right? But I still think that, for LinkedIn, it's still, how to say it, like a bit dependent on how the candidate wants to position themselves, right? So obviously, if the candidate doesn't put the right company name or the right skills in the profile, then they will basically not be able to be found. Depending again on how the search, how the headhunter or the future potential employer choose to search, right? Whereas the database that we built today, it's really unique. It's really like we really screen the person. We have a lot more detailed insight, and we know additional skill sets or experiences that the person can do that is not written or not necessarily associated with the current company or the normal job scope like head of marketing, So I think the database, if it's actually screened, right, through many angles over a long period of time, and that is something that LinkedIn is not able to compete at this point. right? Because LinkedIn is very dependent on what employers and the candidates put in their profiles, right? What employers choose to highlight. So what LinkedIn has is not a true reflection of, number one, what's the company total hiring needs right now. And also, it may not be the most updated version of the candidate. It's just a platform, right, for the candidate to advertise themselves. But sometimes they miss out a ton of information, or the companies they've worked for, or certain skill sets that they have done in the job that is not mentioned as well. So because of that, there's a bit of gap in the information. And so obviously, if we know the candidate better, we know the client better, we could recommend and create opportunities for the candidate beyond if they had applied normally through, like, let's say, LinkedIn, right? Yeah. So I think that's still that unique value add that we could bring to the market.
Yeah. And on the other side, the job market in Indonesia is evolving rapidly, right? With some sectors seeing especially high demand. Which industries do you see as particularly active or fast growing in terms of hiring?
So for me, obviously for WeNetwork, I think I'll speak for myself first, since I recruit in the B2C space. So B2C for us is consumer, retail, healthcare. So I think obviously that's a market that is one of the biggest industries for Indonesia, first of all. So it's a huge contributor. It affects, daily lives of people. So that market, a lot of people are very interested to come into Indonesia for the huge population as well. Indonesia still remains to be an interesting market, right? Because for mature multinationals who are already leaders in other markets and they are looking to grow, then they need Indonesia, or they see Indonesia as a potential place to grow as well, right? So then again, they will come in and they would want to hire someone that can help them achieve that as well. Right. So it's really, really interesting because we're helping, local companies to expand overseas as well, put talent there. But at the same time, we're also helping, the current people who are already existing in Indonesia to do a bit of transformation, whether it's localizing the leadership positions that used to be held exclusively by expats. Now, they are also, beginning to consider local talent for certain roles. So that's an opportunity for Indonesians to step up. So we see opportunities on both fronts. Obviously, it's more challenging. There are not as many roles being created as before. But you need to be really dynamic. You need to be really able to have diverse skill sets and not be maybe as specialized as in one thing before to be relevant today. So I think that is something that we are seeing, and we are still seeing a lot of opportunity in this space to recruit for. Yeah.
Wow. Stephanie, one last question, and that's $1 million question, especially for all our listeners. They say a well-crafted resume can open doors, but many candidates still struggle to present themselves effectively. What are your top resume tips for job seekers? And what are the most common mistakes you see?
For me, I think it's a couple of things. Number one, I think if the CV is too long, that shows that they're not able to highlight the relevant experience, right? And people's attention span is really short these days. Like, if you're not able to show impact in a very short period of time, it shows that you lack effective communication, or you're unable to identify relevant achievements or responsibilities for the role, right? So I think lengthy CVs doesn't mean that it doesn't reflect experience. Actually, it's ineffective communication. So, and the last part that's actually a relatively new thing, is that it's a lot of AI generated CVs these days. And it makes a lot of the CVs look the same. And to be honest, sometimes we know that it's not the true communication level of the candidate. But, it can help. But at the end of the day, it's also going to it looks the same as a lot of other resumes in the market. So you don't basically stand out. And I think there's a tone sometimes in AI generated CVs where that it's like ChatGPT had a say in it, right? So that makes it less authentic. And sometimes the potential hiring manager may actually question, like, is this how you're going to do your work? Can I actually trust you to do the work that I'm going to potentially hire you for? So I think being authentic is still important as well. But I'm sure using AI to correct grammar and everything might still be useful, but it cannot replace the entire content of the CV. I think because it's your own personal experience that you're trying to bring forth to the table. So I think that the authenticness in your CV has to come through as well. Effective and authentic, basically. Yeah.
All right, that's very well answered. Thank you so much for some golden nuggets there and sharing some tips of how to draft a good CV, how the
Yeah.
recruitment industry works, and which sectors to keep an eye on. So thanks once
Sure.
again, Stephanie, to be on board with us on Durian Dreaming. It was a complete pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Neha. I really had fun chatting about the industry. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Stephanie. And that's a wrap for this episode of Durian Dreaming. I hope today's discussion sparked some new ideas for you. Don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts, and stay tuned for more exciting stories. Until next time, keep dreaming big.